I think I should talk about some background of CTFs first. But anyone here who has never heard of CTF before? So everybody have heard of CTF already. So why do you cheat here? Okay. So before we start, let me first promote myself. I'm a year 7 student, if I'm not graduate, and I'm a software engineer at a blockchain startup called Block Square. By the way, we are still hiring, so if you need a job or if you want to do something about blockchain, you can send us a request or whatever. Yeah, but this is not important in our topic. Yeah, I'm also a CTF player who mostly played as SOSAC. Yeah, and I've represented UST once, but I'm a CU student, but I unfortunately still represent UST and won the CTF game for that. By the way, if they have no members at all, I could still win. Yeah. So it really doesn't matter. And yeah, other things are not very important at all. So what we're going to do today is to talk about what is encoding and what is encryption. And can anyone spot out the difference between encoding and encryption? Anyone knows what are the differences between that? If yes, then I could skip this session already. Okay, no. Then talk about classical ciphers, which happens in long time ago. And if you found anybody is still using classical ciphers nowadays, you could blame them. If you find anybody using block ciphers or versionless cipher nowadays, used in the login systems or whatever, you could always blame them because they're not usable anymore. And lastly, we are going to talk about modern symmetric ciphers, and in particular, block ciphers. Okay, first thing first, encoding. Yeah, as I've mentioned, encoding is different from encryption. They serve different purposes. And for encoding, the main purpose is to prevent loss in communication. Yeah, you'll see the example later, but I'll just talk about the difference now. For encryption, you will just see some random things that are impossible to retrieve if you don't have the key. And for the most basic encoding in computer, it is called ASCII. And ASCII is just a number to a character mapping. For example, we could see a space character represent a 32 in number, or if you can see a capital letter I will correspond to 73, etc. But there are lots of encoding apart from ASCII. For example, hex. Yeah, hex means base 16 has decimal, which happens to be studied in your forms, yeah, probably in secondary school. And to convert a number from a string to a hex is very simple. How? It's just converting the ASCII value from base 10 to base 16, and nothing small. And you could do it in one line using Python 2, as mentioned here. And nothing special here. So move on. And another encoding scheme is called base 64. This is rather common in CTFs or like authentication tokens. In most common authentication method, or some tokens like called JWT. Has anyone heard of JSON Web Token before? If you have developed some web or if you have already written some website, maybe you use JWT as session tokens. And what they're using is base64. And those things are just secrets. And if you store your password here, you can always decode it. For example, let me modify. Name. Password. Like this. Yeah. From this one, I've received a corresponding token already, and this token is similarly stored by payload, and it is so-called encoded properly. And however, if we just store this kind of payload or this kind of tokens in our section, for a hacker, you can just copy the second part and do something special. Those errors are very ugly. Using JavaScript, we can use A to B. And what we can see is that my password is already shown here. So if your token is leaked, then your password is leaked if you store your password here. So encoding is never considered as encryption because they have served as different purpose. It just convert some unreadable string into a readable string. By here we mean readable by the characters are readable, but it doesn't really mean that the whole string are meaningful at all. And maybe we can show another example. These are some strings that no one could understand. Yeah, something like that. This is a four-character long string. But if we copy and paste on maybe on web page or on wherever, it usually shows something like a question mark. But if we encode in some another encoding like base64, then it will limit the character set from something unreadable or probably unreadable to always readable. So the string result, for example, if I encode in hex, then it would convert into some meaningful string. No, it would convert into some readable string. Yeah, at least you couldn't understand, or in some browsers you will see 4 question marks, but indeed there are 4 different characters, but not question marks. Yeah. Something like that. So there are further some common encodings, like base 32, base 36, base 85, and a commonly used encoding in Bitcoin is base 58. Yeah, why is that base 58? I think it is similar to base 64, but removes some common characters like small letter I, integer 1, and capital small letter L, because they look alike. So if we use different, if we don't use those characters, then we could easily read by human and easily classify by humans, because most likely we couldn't classify a capital letter L, no, capital letter I and a small letter L, or even a alphabet O and an integer 0, like that. Yeah, those are some common encoding, and we could usually identify the encoding by its character set. Yeah. Okay, so that's something about encoding, and this is the main dish of today, encryption. Did anyone remember what is encryption as I mentioned? What is encryption?
To protect.
Thank you. Okay. Let's read this text. I will give you 5 minutes to read this. No, sorry. No, time's up. An encryption algorithm is something that is very complicated. It usually nobody could understand. Sorry. Usually, if you study cryptography, you should understand everything in that. But the main point is that the algorithm will mess up the data, and only the ones who have the key could retrieve the data. Yeah, that's some idea of encryption algorithm. And if you don't have the key, you could never retrieve the data. Yeah, let's see an example. And in cryptography, we always use 2 characters, Alice and Byron. Yeah, sorry. And in this case, if we want to send some data, we may always need a key. Those keys. We may use the same key or different keys to encrypt and decrypt. Yeah. And for example, if Byron creates a message and encrypts it with a key, then it becomes the ciphertext. And if it delivers to Alice, she has the key, and she could decrypt it into a message back. However, the third person called Cipher, who doesn't have the key, he couldn't decrypt the message, and he could never decrypt the message, and unless he tries every possible key in the key set or whatever. But it definitely takes a lot of time. So if you don't have the key, it would be impossible for you to decrypt the message. Of course, if the encryption algorithm is correct. If it is not, it may be very easy for you to decrypt, but it may not be the case of modern ciphers. Okay, so let's enter a second part, which is slightly more difficult than what I've mentioned before, classical ciphers. Why do we need to learn classical ciphers in cryptography or in CTFs? Yeah, because we need to learn from history, as to avoid some mistake made from the past. Yeah, otherwise, you will always repeat the same history, the same errors, same mistakes over and over. And more importantly, we need to learn from history to extract something valuable from the past. What are that? Now, let's see. So, classical ciphers can be classified into 2 categories. As described, substitution and permutation. And these are the 2 main ideas of classical ciphers. And this is also what modern ciphers use commonly nowadays. And those things are very common nowadays. Let's show you some examples. Yeah, I think those examples are very classic, and as anyone who never learned Kaiser cipher? Okay, me, okay. So, should we skip this part? Okay, maybe I could talk a little bit about this. So this is very classical cipher, a classic example for substitution cipher, and as well as cryptography. Although it don't seem to be encryption nowadays, it really did. Why? Because it tried to scramble the data from something we know to something we don't know. Yeah, from CUHK to wherever. I don't know how to pronounce this. If anybody could, you can help me pronounce this. And it is just a simple idea. By shifting the characters, moving it by 3 characters forward from C to F and etc. Yeah. And let's move to slightly different approach. in modern computing. Yeah, and actually this is Kaiser cipher, but in some different interpretation. Interpretation. Wait. Okay. Yeah, this is something quite strange, and in mathematical symbols, but it really makes no difference from this line to this line. Apart from we change from English characters to ASCII characters, which means that we just have the character set expanded from 26 to 256. Yeah. Let's see an example. And suppose that we have the key, and the key is now 32. Firstly, we have this plain text in characters, and we will convert it into integers one by one. Like C is correspond to 67 by the ASCII table, and U is converted to 85 by ASCII, and etc. Yeah. And in particular, the 32 means that it is a space character. Yeah. And by encrypting the message, we add down by 32 each character. So you could see that the difference between upper and lower 32, always by 32. And this makes not much difference. Can anyone guess what can we obtain? What can we retrieve by reading its ciphertext in characters? Maybe I shall give you 2 minutes to try to obtain the ciphertext by characters by looking at the ASCII table. Yeah, by the way, let me have a break as well. If anyone who has found out already, you could just shout it out, and yeah, and we could continue. So maybe most of you could find out the key, right? Find out the ciphertext, right? Let's show it. Yeah, it is in small letter, CUHK at OIL. And although it doesn't seem to be encrypted, it really did. Because in this case, we are just using a key that sucks. Just like we are using a key that is equal to 0, which has no effect at all. And this is an example for why we shouldn't use some classical ciphers nowadays. Yeah. Okay. And as there are only 256 different keys, we could crack the raw cipher by exhausting them one by one. I think some of you may ask that K could be any integer. Why are there only 256 different keys? Actually, if you use a key like 31 million, etc., we could just take module instead of adding such a great number, because they have the same modules, and if we add them and take module, and they have the same effect after all. So there are only 256 different cases only, and nothing more. So this is very easy to crack nowadays, because we only need to try no more than 300 cases. However, some of you may ask that 256 is still a very large key space to search. And is there a smarter way to find plain text without searching them one by one? Sadly, no. We still used to exhaust them one by one, but we could use frequency analysis to find out what is happening. Suppose that if we have a string that is encrypted with rock cipher, and we could assume that the plain text is always have a similar frequency distribution. For example, small letter e should exist the most, or the number of space are one of the largest proportion, or one of the largest distribution ever. Let's see. And suppose that we have put an entire ASCII table and the whole text of Shakespeare and return a frequency table. You could see that space, 1/4 of the text is a space, and small letter A to C resembles a large proportion here. And there are some new lines over there. Of course, the remaining part in something like 64 to 96, those are capital letters. And we can expect that every ciphertext, every plain text should have the similar distribution like this. And suppose that we have a ciphertext encoded like this. And of course, we have the whole ciphertext, and we could always return its frequency table. Yeah, this is its frequency table. And what can we do with it? We can put it side by side with the expected frequency. Here we can see that the green parts, which is impossibly found, or we can see 1 or 2 here and here, but this is too small. You almost couldn't find it. And the frequency tables, the red part are the errors, and the green part are the matched parts. So if it is correct, the area of red parts should be minimized. And what we can do is to exhaust them one by one and see what happens. Okay, let's see an animation. And this is a table. By rotating the plain text for different keys, we could see that the errors are changing. And in some special cases, you could see the area of the green parts may occupy more than ever, and the error are at the lowest. And this is the idea for frequency analysis, and let me show the code. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, this is the message I take. Crypto means cryptography, but not cryptocurrency. Yeah. And it's supposed to be used in key like 168 to encrypt a ciphertext. And this ciphertext is passed to the attack here. And what I'm going to do is and we have defined a function called frequency matches to find how correct or how much error is it between the actual one and the expected one. And for example, the actual one is computed by getting the actual frequency of the payload, nothing special, and the expected one is, estimate one is obtained from the whole text of Shakespeare. Maybe you may not want to use Shakespeare, but at least something that is very large, like a Harry Potter and etc. As anything as you like. And it will return a score by computing the total errors. And for here, I used mean square errors, sum of squares, as an error to produce a score. And we could see that if there are errors, the score may be lower. And if it matched perfectly, the score will be 0. So the more negative it is, the worse the unmatched the frequency, the ciphertext is. And what we do is to exhaust all of them to obtain the score of that. Yeah. And let's see what is happening. Ooh. Where's my term? Okay. And as my code executes, you can see that actually the results return very fast. And there are some candidates for that. For example, the first one is the correct plaintext, which has the score of minus 0.06. And you could also obtain the original plaintext and the key already. So it would be very easy for us to use frequency analysis. And if we try a different text, and there are many other candidates, like some unreadable text with a very low error, and some quite readable text but not meaningful at all, and etc. Those things are the candidates, but you can see the most matched item is correct, and it's ranked 0 after all. Maybe it seems to be cheating for me. Let me try another text. Anyone has a suggestion? A pig from box. So for the lazy. Oh, full stop. Yeah. So just need a key. Wow. Same. By the way, we are not using something like message. Except decrypting it. So I didn't cheat. So let's see the best 5 results. Very good one, right? We can see the error are very low, as the first one is the error of the first one is minus 0.01, but the second is already 0.1, minus 0.1. So it really distinguished from a errorless or to a more error ones. But it may not be always. It may not always work. Why? Let me try another test. A barrel is here. We use barrel.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And anyone suggest me a key? 777. Too large. Let's take mod 256. I don't know what number is that, so it may be very secure. Okay, let's see the results. The first 5 results, we couldn't see barrel at all. Barrel has disappeared from already. Why? Let me show more message. And you can see barrel is the 7th, ranked 7th. Yeah, it is not a fortunate number, right? Why is that? You can see that the errors is quite similar between those top 10, between the top 10. And do you remember that in our last example, the error was 0.01, and the second is 0.1 already. But for the first and the 10th, they don't differ very much, as they always has a large error already. Why? It is because the text is not long enough for us to determine it. As we use frequency analysis, we should guarantee that the frequency should be, the number of characters should be sufficiently large already. So if we just enter 5 characters as a message, then I think it is better for us to exhaust them one by one, or it really makes no difference at all. Yeah. So if we just add more letters like is in the room now. Yeah, I'm still having the facts. And he's in the room now. And let me try again. Yeah, we can see that the correct plain text is returned to the first place. So, which means that if the message is longer, then the correct one would go out more accurately. But not in this case. We are not going to make this work by copying. No, sorry. We should not include space. Yeah, like this. It really make no difference if you repeat the message over and over, as the frequency will not be different already. So the ranking will not be changed, of course. Okay, and that's what the rock cipher are doing and how we crack the rock cipher. So we have a similar cipher like Virginia cipher. This is quite similar to rock cipher, and actually it is rock cipher in some sense. The only difference is that the key is no longer a number, but an array of numbers. But we can see encryption and decryption are both more or less the same, except the subscript I in the key. What is the meaning of that? I don't know. Let's see some examples. And suppose that we have the key CUHK. Yeah. And if we encrypt cryptography using the key CUHK, and what we are doing is that what we are doing are similar. The plain text in ASCII are always converted first, and the key in ASCII is also considered. Beforehand, we use 32 as a key. Actually, if we use a space as a key, and if it convert to ASCII, it is also 32, so it is the same. Okay. And how can we encrypt a message using the key? The key is only of 4 characters long. If it is not long enough, we could always repeat the key over and over. Like CUHK, CUHK, CUHK. It occurs 3 times in the key. And what we are doing is to add those numbers together and take more 256. However, the numbers are too small now, so we don't need to take more here. And decryption is similar. We just use the ciphertext to subtract from the key, and we subtract the key from the ciphertext. Then we could obtain plain text already. So they are more or less the same, unless one of them is plus and one of them is minus. Yeah, I think this should be doable by primary kids. Yeah, maybe. Can you do it?
No.
You are not.
I'm not primary.
Okay.
Kindergarten.
And so how could we crack this cipher? This is very similar to rock ciphers. And the only difference is that the key length are not specified. So why not let us to guess the length of the key and just do what we have done in cracking the rock ciphers? It really makes no difference at all. Yeah. Assume that the key length is 3 now. Then we could group this character, the red ones into a group, and the green one into another group, and the blue one into the third group, and attack them correspondingly. Actually, if the key length is correct, the error should be low in each of the groups. which means that when you, those items, those spread keys, no, those spread characters should return a low error using the attack of rock ciphers, and the green and the blue also return low errors as well. And that's what happened in some common substitution ciphers. And now let us move on to another type of ciphers. Yeah, this is called well-fenced cipher. And can anyone read the message behind?
The text is written in
The text is written
as
zigzag now.
yes.
Is that? No, sorry. It reads like TXN underscore A dot blah blah blah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And no one can understand it. No, that is not the message. And this indeed is the ciphertext. And what we have heard, the text is written in a zigzag way, zigzag now, was actually the message. And this line is what the ciphertext is. We are just permutating the characters alone. And it really satisfies physics law. Yeah, the law of conservation. The characters are conserved. You can see that the number of characters are always the same as what we have done is to change the order of the letters, but not replacing a character into another. So, what it really does is to shuffle the orders of characters only. Yeah, so it is called permutation. Okay, and looking at the example again, could anyone knows what is the key? Where is the key? The key is already hidden already. Yeah. Where is the key? The key is already shown as the number of rows. There are 4 rows, and the key is 4. If we write it in 2 rows, it may be the text, blah blah blah. And what it will be encrypted is TETX underscore blah blah blah, H underscore ET blah blah blah, like that. And there's nothing special. But imagine, is that if we increase the number of the value of key, like increasing it to 1 million, what will happen? Could anyone guess what will happen if the number of rows increase to 1 million? In reality, it will return like this. I don't have any space more. Sorry. And if there are 1 million columns, then if we encrypt it, it will return THE underscore TXE underscore, and it really did nothing. So it doesn't make sense, or does not mean the key larger. The key larger doesn't mean that it will be more secure. But you can see in this case, the encrypted message is equal to the original message. Okay. Okay. Before we talk about modern encryption, shall we have a break? Maybe 4 minutes or 5 minutes or 3.5. And this part may be considered more difficult than before. And if you have any problems, just stop me. there are not many people here, so I'm easily stoppable. And nowadays, what we're using are modern ciphers, like, has anybody heard of RSA? Or if not, what do you think are the things that is secure from browsing on the internet? We are using many of the algorithms that are called maybe AES and probably DSA, etc. Those are the things that are securing us nowadays. And for modern encryption algorithms, there are two main categories. One of them is symmetric. Symmetric means that we have a key that is used as encrypting and decrypting. If you have the key, you could encrypt and decrypt. And this is always used to secure a channel between maybe two parties. If you have more, then you may be afraid of some of them may be leaking the key. But if you have if you're sharing the key within two parties, it is probably secure. And another cipher is called asymmetric cipher. There are two keys, public key and private key. Yeah, as the name suggests, public key are always given to other people as they are public, and private key are stored to yourself. I don't think anyone could confuse this. Maybe except one guy, but yeah, only one could confuse it. But public key are always public, as the name suggests already. Okay. And this is very meaningless. But what is happening for public key and private keys is that anyone who has the private key, they could do encryption, but they could not do decryption. So if you have the public key, you could encrypt a message and send to the holder of a private key. But if you have the public key, you couldn't decrypt at all. Yeah, you could obtain the message by trying to encrypt them one by one, but you couldn't decrypt it instantly. And unless you have the private key. The private key is used for decrypting message. Yeah, that's something. And for crypto systems, usually the best attacks is to exhaust the key, or in particular for symmetric keys. The best attack should be exhausting the whole key space to find the best key. What was that? Like a rock cipher, the best attack should be exhausting the 256 keys. And yeah, as frequency analysis happens, it is not the ideal case because there are a better way for us to find the key, alright? To find the key and correspondingly the plain text. So, if we are going to attack, the most naive way is to exhaust the key already. And if an attack is better than brute forcing the key, then it is not considered as secure. And yeah, for symmetric ciphers, there are two main categories. One of them is block cipher, and another one is stream cipher. And block ciphers means that we are going to encrypt it block by block. And for stream cipher, we will encrypt it byte by byte. And what is going to help? The history really helps a lot for developing block ciphers, and because it has two main ideas: permutations and substitutions. And two common examples are DES and AES. Yeah, has anybody heard of DES before or AES? 1, 2, B. Okay, 3. Okay. Let me talk about what is DES first. DES is called Data Encryption Standard. Although it is called a standard, it is not a standard here nowadays anymore. And this is not a standard actually. And this thing is a encryption algorithm instead of calling it a standard. Yeah. It is actually an algorithm. Yeah, but I don't know why people is calling this a standard. Yeah. It may be somewhat strange. And as mentioned, it is a block cipher that encrypts a block. Of 8 bits, 8 bytes. Into 8 bytes. And this is what happening. And for DS, we do also have a key, which is 56 bits, that is 7 bytes. So, theoretically, the complexity of attacks should be 2 to the power 56. Yeah, some of the CS students may challenge me. Though complexity should be in big O or whatever. But in cryptography, big O really doesn't exist. We use the number of computations instead. And by 2 to the power 56, it means that we have to exhaust each and every key of DS to obtain the correct message, and until you have obtained the correct message. And this is the theoretical attack. However, I heard that there are already some attacks that could reduce the complexity to much lower numbers. I don't remember how small is that, but it is already insecure already. Yeah, before I talk about how insecure that is, that I should talk about how can we implement DES. How can we implement DES is not a question. We always don't want to implement it, but by understanding it will be better for us to know what is an encryption doing. I have some ask here. No, sorry. This is the first slide, and you can see that a message is passed to an initial permutation and pass into 16 rounds of crystal ciphers. And in each round, we have a round key generator to pass a different key to probably different keys to the ciphers. And after that, we have a final permutation to retrieve the ciphertext. And that's the general idea. It may be strange because I didn't mention what is the initial permutation, the final permutation, the round key generator, and the crystal cipher. The only thing I could tell is that the initial permutations and the final permutations, if we combine them together, it did nothing. If we skip the 16 rounds in between, the ciphertext is equal to the message. It really did nothing. And the round key generator is to expand the keys, and maybe we can imagine it as a random number generator with a seed in the key. And those are the simplified idea. But the main idea is the crystal rounds. What are that? In each round of the crystal cipher, it cuts the message into half. The left part and the right part. What should I draw it? I can simply illustrate them. The left part, the right part, is passed to the left part in the next round. And the left part is exclusive OR. Is computed with exclusive OR with a DS function and passed to the right of the next part. So we could have the max feature on the first half and swapping in the next. So we don't have to preserve the order at all. Or we couldn't see that L of I minus 1 being equal to L of I or etc. And we could almost guarantee that it is shuffling. Yeah. And the core part of this crystal cipher is the DS function. And the DS function are somehow easy to understand. Maybe easy. It consists of 4 parts. The first part is to expand the input into 48 bits. How to expand it? For example, this is not the actual implementation, but the idea is to duplicate it. Maybe, or maybe not. Just maybe we're going to write each bit twice. And this is one of the methods to expand. But in DS, the idea is more or less the same, except that some bits are duplicated itself, all of the bits are duplicated. And if it is after that, it is expanded to 48 bits. It is exclusive OR with the round key that is passed from the round key generator and to the DAX function, and this is the DAX function. And there are some S balls. Yeah. Some of you may be confused. What are the meaning of S balls and P balls? P means permutation. In this case, we are just permutating the order of bits. And the idea are somehow different because some of the bits may occur twice. So the law of conservation may not be right, but the number of bits should not. The idea and the thing is always the same by using a key box, as the all bits should always exist. And after that, it is passed to an S box, which convert the 48 bits in 32 bits. It is something like we chop the message into 6 parts, or maybe 8 parts. And in each part, it is 6 bits. It has a different function for us to obtain 4 bits from these 6 bits. It is just a mapping. For example, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 will always return 0, 1, 1. This is a 1. 0, 1, 0, 1, and etc. We always have a function defined for each of the S blocks. And finally, it was already 42 bits, and we are just permutating the order of the bits. And that's how DS works. Yeah, I think everybody is already confused. As we know, as I've mentioned in the first slides before, encryption functions are always are usually difficult to understand. And for DES, it is already the simpler encryption algorithm. And maybe there are many complicated ciphers like AES that involves a lot of math and maybe, in more especially, an RSA. I think RSA is beautiful. DS may be the most troublesome, but don't worry. There are many things that could still be confusing. And the idea of those flags is not to scare you away. And those things are just to let you to have an idea to know what we are doing in CTFs. Those things are usually nothing to do with CTF schemes. We usually don't need to analyze those items. Yeah, by usually it means we sometimes still need to analyze. Yeah. And yeah, like DS, AES, and RSA or etc. We most likely you don't need to look at how it is implemented. More importantly, the ideas. The idea is more important in that. And in current CTF games, some of the authors may like to invent the ciphers themselves. They think that the ciphers they have invented are very interesting and very fun, and led others to be confused. And of course, after the CTF game, the author will be condemned. I don't know why authors like to be condemned, but they like to. I don't, yeah. And in reality, especially in CTF games, the tailor-made ciphers are usually copied from the existing ciphers. And have an example, Google has a CTF this year. And there are one challenge that I will discuss later. Maybe now. But if we know the implementation details of the current existing ciphers, spotting the difference should be easy for us. No, maybe easy. Probably be easy. And in this case, we are going to talk about a CTF challenge that is in Google CTF and prepare to be puzzled. As I think this is the most challenging part in today's session. Maybe. Okay. And let's do some real CTF challenge. I've never do it in UST. This challenge is too hard for that. True. Yeah, I think CU students are smarter. Yeah, as you can see, CU students always win CTF. Isn't it? You see that too? You see it over there already. Yeah, we have a challenge. And what are we going to do is to solve the challenge. Too hard. Maybe understand the challenge first. So we have the challenge here already.
More than 5%.
Oh, wow. So this is a challenge. And did anyone here who doesn't learn Python before?
Too late.
I think everybody has learned Python if you have not raised your hand. So you could understand the code already. Let me give you 5 minutes to understand this piece of code. Maybe not. Let's continue. I heard someone who has already understood the code. Who can understand? Who could explain the code in front of us? It would be loud for me if if you help me. Of course, if you read these parts, you must be very confusing. What is compressed function? Compressed function is defined above. So if I don't show this part, it really means nothing. Let me just talk about charge. At first, we are going to scan 3 words. And yeah, compressed function. As the key size and block size are 8. I don't know where is it written, but I remember this is 8. So it will read 16 bytes firstly and perform a decryption using the block and the key. So this is the CIP. This CIP means to be the encrypted message. And for output, it performs an exclusive OR along with the input. Yeah, very confusing already. So let me draw it. So this is the 16 bytes we have input. And the first 8 bytes is the key, and this is the message. And what we are going to do is to obtain another 8 bytes. That is to encrypt the message using the key. And this is the middle part of the text we want. And at last, it will perform exclusive OR with the input. So what we are going to have is return. Is that DS encrypt with message key, and it is exclusive OR with message. And this is what we obtain. Yeah, very difficult, right? But this is not the most difficult part in the challenge. Sorry. Okay, understanding the first 3 lines. No. Congratulations. This is the first 6 lines already. We have about 12 lines to understand. For the second part, we need to check if the key and output are the same. If they are the same, it should be rejected. Yeah. For the first 2 inputs, the key and the input should be different, which means that there must be something different between these 16 bytes. And that's the thing in this case. There's nothing special. We can input anything into it. Like if we input a 0 and a 1, it is already different. And for the second part, we need to, if the input is different, if the output is different, it is rejected. In this case, it means that we need to find 2 pairs of inputs of 16 bytes that has the same outputs already. So this is what the 8 lines mean. These 8 lines mean. And the third one means that the output should be consisting of all zeros. And otherwise it will be rejected. Yeah, rejected means return something already. So in short, the goal of the task is to find a pair of collisions, which is 2 different inputs that produce the same output. And another one is to give an input that returns 0 as output. Yeah, that's the point of this question. And congratulations, you have to understand the problem, but you still have to solve it. And solving is always the hardest part in CTFs. Even though people could understand the problem, it is not always guaranteed that they could solve the problem. Yeah, for me, I couldn't solve this problem if I have 1 hour, but if I have 1 year, I could solve it. Okay, indeed I solved this already, so I think I have the ability to describe this question. And how could we do it? As mentioned, DES is an encryption algorithm with 56 bits of key. The key size is 56 bits. But in this case, it's said that it encrypts with input and key are 8 bytes, which is 64 bits. So it's something strange, right? The correct DS needs 56 bits, but the actual DS in this problem, it led us to input 64 bits. Yeah, in reality, DS inputs 64 bits, but 8 of them is called priority bits that checks if the input is correct. However, if we take a look at this not DEX, does anyone want to take a look with the same cipher over and over? Sorry, I think no. Okay. Let me just describe what is happening in not DEX function. This function did not check if the input is correct. It just drop the parity bits and convert the 64 bits of the key into 56. So that we could pass it into encryption. So the drop the bits, the 8 bits are minimax. No, they are not minimax. They help us to solve the first problem. For example, if we have an input message is A, the key is B, and the priority bits maybe being 0 and being 1. Although they have different inputs as keys, but their outputs are always the same, as this one is the same, and this one remains the same, and this remains the same. So we have already found the first problem, that is, found the collision already. Yeah, if anyone is puzzled, just stop me. Or if anyone just don't understand from the beginning, I don't know how can I help. But we can see that by dropping the bits that is different, they have the same key in this case already. So we have found the collision, and the difficult part is the second one. How to find a 0 preimage, which means that this is being to be 0. And this 0 could imply that the message would be equal to the ciphertext if it is encrypted with the key. Right? Because exclusive OR, we could just move this part into on the right, like we are going to do exclusive OR again. Yeah. And in this case, it means that encryption means nothing, as we have encrypted the message and obtained the message as the ciphertext. Just like we are encrypting a message using rod cipher being the key 0. It rotates 0 characters, and what we obtain is what we send. Yeah, this is the same. But for DS, it must be very difficult. However, as I have mentioned, in this free case, we can see that this one is equal to, the message is equal to the ciphertext. Means that after initial permutations, each of the rounds, if they're consistent, if the output is equal to the output, input is equal to the output, then it could be the case that changed nothing. If we assume that the first rounds 1 to 16 do nothing at all, and as I've mentioned before, the initial permutation and the final permutation is along, did nothing. So, if we can keep those 16 rounds being the same, it's okay, and we already have the problem solved. And indeed, it can. In reality, for DS, there are some weak keys that always produce the same round keys. Just imagine that given a random number generator for some sits, it always returns the same number. It may be strange, like if you input something, it always returns 0 as it's the random number. Yeah, something like that. And for DS, it really happens. So those 16 rounds can be squeezed into one single round, as the round keys are always the same. And those 3 parts are always the same too. So if we can keep the results the same, it starts. And how can we do it? We just let L of the last block, the left of the last block, equal to the right of the next block, and this part equals to this part. It will imply that F needs to be 0. And how can we find some F such that it is 0? You just exhaust it because it is only 32 bits. So it is done. First, it seems to be very simple. So indeed, in the game, we really take a lot of time solving problem. Yeah. Why is it so difficult? I don't know. Okay. And some of them are asked, as DS has only 56 bits long, the key of DS is only 56 bits long. How could we improve the security of using if we use DS? Some lazy guy may think we can do it twice. Yeah, it really did. That is called double DAX. And yeah, let's look at some news in 2012. Some companies, Octopus, use maybe double DAX. As we can see, it used double encryption with each encryption being 56 bits of keys. And this is an international level. So confusing, right?
So secure.
Yeah, I agree. And if it happens in 2018, I don't know how much money is already scammed. Yeah. But indeed, as I've mentioned, for double DAX, the theoretical security should be, the theoretical complexity should be of 2 to the power 112. It is not a small number if we exhaust them one by one, right? As it is 2 to the power 56 times larger than using the DAX. So it may be very secure. Is it? Yeah, if I have a question like that, it probably not. Yeah, and let me first talk about what is double DAX doing. We have a 112-bit key and break it into half. The first half will be encrypted for the first time, and the second half will be encrypted for the second time. And this is how you do double DAX. We're just encrypting with 2 keys. Yeah. Sounds meaningful. Sounds. But is this really secure? There is a much simpler attack if we have a pair of plaintext and a ciphertext. Remember that the goal of attacking is to retrieve the key, or at least retrieve the plaintext. But in this case, if we have a plaintext and a ciphertext pair, then what we are going to do is to retrieve the key. As if we have one pair of key, if we have a key, then we could decrypt the whole message already. And how can we do it? Is there any people who know CS here? So everybody is CS? I don't think so. There are more. Okay.
I'm not CS.
And
Me too.
anyone who is CS here? You. So everybody who is studying here, alright? No one raised their hands. So the remaining people are not undergraduates at all, or whatever. Yeah, for me, I was asking because I think CS students should learn more about algorithms. I have some course, so it may be very difficult for you to learn algorithms. But in this case, algorithm did really help us. And I hope that learning an algorithm may be easier for you to learn. Compared with learning an encryption algorithm, it will be easier for you to learn an algorithm. And so let me talk about how to attack on double DAX if we have a pair of plaintext and a ciphertext. What we're going to do is to exhaust the first key and the second key. So what are the differences between exhausting the whole key and exhausting the 2 keys? Anyone know what are the differences? It is really meaningful, but if you unless you can spot the difference, it would be meaningful. It would be meaningless. And what are the differences? Exhausting the first one, it needs to take 2 to the power 112 operations. But exhausting them correspondingly, we just need to exhaust, wow, this is a 5. 2 times 2 to the power 56. So it makes a lot smaller. The number is greatly reduced. Although it still seems to be exhaustible, but at least it is reduced. And according to existing attacks, we even don't need to exhaust such a large number. But what is the use for exhausting those 2 keys correspondingly? Let me have an oversimplified version for DS. Assume that we have a message and a ciphertext. We decrypt them using all of the keys. We have middle text being 4 different possible cases. And if we encrypt the message, there are 4 common cases as a middle text. What is the use? Could anyone understand what is happening, or could anyone know? Could anyone guess how can we utilize the result here? How can we find the key here? If I tell you, you can already find the key here. What is the key? Where is the key? How can we find the key? Yeah, let's have some thinking time, as I have to think too. If anyone who has a key already, just shout out the key. You could not be wrong for more than 16 times. Yeah. So no worries. Oh. So anyone has idea? Only one? Do you want a chance to guess? Yeah.
0010.
0010. Why?
Because the middle text is the same.
Okay, that's correct. What we are having is that if we encrypt the message twice, the middle text should be the same. But what if there are two possible cases? If this number is 0000, then what is the difference? What is the conclusion of the key? Yeah, why not both? Both of them are key. And he's correct. The key is 0010 as it is the only common middle text. But if there are two, like if we encrypt 00, this is not 0. 1101 into 4 zeros, then this 1001 is also a possible key. Then in this case, we can always encrypt another block and see if the block has the same ciphertext. So it really makes no difference if we have a smaller list of candidates instead of exhausting them one by one. Yeah. And it is much simpler for us to attack like this, as the number of operations is greatly reduced. Yeah, convincing, right? No. And some lazy guys still think that we could still utilize DS to improve the security. And how? They think that they could encrypt it for 3 times. And that is called triple DEX. And yeah, it is still using a few years ago. Is this secure? If we use triple DEX, that is we just encrypt it 3 times and using 3 different keys, like 56 bits.
I want to see the key.
Yeah, that's 168 bits. Is it secure as we need? Does it really as secure as we need to brute force all of the keys? Why and how? It is not secure enough, but why? Let's think again. If we have known a set of plain text and a ciphertext, we could still attack this using a similar way, but this is somehow different. Maybe we could encrypt the first 2 using exhausting the 112 bits. Of course, the number is too large and this is not realistic. And after that, we decrypt C using exhausting the 56-bit keys. So the overall complexity is not 2 to the power 168, but 2 to the power 56 plus 2 to the power 112. And yeah, although it is not releasing, it exists such an attack. And this attack is called mid in the middle. Yeah. If someone learned algorithm, this may be some algorithm that you have studied. Maybe. Okay. So this is the end of the first training section, and hopefully, if someone is interested, there will be a second and a third. Yeah. And what I will be talking, yeah, if anyone is interested, what I will be talking is will be focused on block ciphers and hashes. And for RSA, I think if you are even more interested, then I hope I will be preparing some time for that. But for later sessions, it may be more difficult, and as difficult as the latter half, and what I have described in the later half section. So, if you could handle this part, it would be possible for you to handle the second and the third. If you could not, I couldn't help. Yeah, so maybe you could ask us.
No, try harder.
If you could ask us through any links that you could find us. What is us? Only me. Yeah. So hopefully this section did not scare you away. And if you have any suggestions or any problems, you could just find me in the evidence over there.